Recording stopped. better on that one.
I did. Okay. Welcome to our Weber County Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is Tuesday, the 11th of June. We have a full body of commissioners here with Commissioner Sharon Bolos, who serves as the vice chair on my right, Commissioner Gage Froer, who serves as the vice chair on my left. I don't know what that is, but we're glad to have those of you who have chosen to be here in person, those of you online, and even those of you who will be joining us at some later time watching this meeting. Thank you for being here. Our agenda will proceed as follows. The great Shelley Hallisey will give us or lead us in a Pledge of Allegiance, followed by I'll give the invocation, and then Commissioner Sharon Bolos will give the thought of the day. We'll go to that point. Ms. Hallisey?
Please rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful so much for being able to be here with such great people in this county. Not just our citizenry, but especially those who work to make sure that their lives they're doing good. They work for the good of the people. And there's a lot of good intent here, and we're grateful for that. We're grateful for people who've chosen that profession to work in the county, and thank you. We also are grateful for our first responders and those who protect our borders and our country and our military. Please bless them. Heavenly Father, we pray that we'll have a calm today, that we'll be able to feel or be impressed on what's important for the business of this county and for its people who live here. We're grateful for all that we have and say these things in the Savior's name, even Jesus Christ, amen. Commissioner Bolos.
I got my notes.
Thank you.
Last weekend, Friday and Saturday, I have a younger brother who ran what's called a Scout Mountain Ultra. It was 105 miles, right? That's what I thought too. And I talked to him about the process of this. He ran the first 35 miles by himself. However, he'd been training with some friends and they all kind of stuck together more or less. And then they have spotters that meet them partway through and run with them. So he had a spotter scheduled to run from miles 35 to 60, which is almost a marathon, and another spotter to run 62 to 82, which is 20 miles, and she was going to come back and run 98 to 105, another 7 miles with him. Well, his third spotter got there on time. However, he was ahead of time, so rather than go without the third spotter, the second spotter stayed with him, and she said, I'll finish with you. So she ran 43 miles with him, so almost half the race. And then they crossed the finish line, and his wife went back to the hotel with their friends, and my dad, who was his support person, stayed with them. And they stayed there till after midnight Saturday, waiting for all of his friends to cross. And I thought, we all need someone who will run 43 miles with us. And we all need someone who will wait at the finish line till we get there. And I just was so impressed that he was able to surround himself with good people, and then, you know, he stayed after and supported his friends too. It's the kind of people you want around you.
You know, there's a lot of greatness in that story. Thank you so much for that. Okay, for those of you who are in our audience or online, we have a few things that are on our agenda today. For those of you who would like to comment, items related to the agenda only, now is your time that you may do that. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. Was there anyone in the audience that would like to do that? For those presenters, we'll give you an opportunity later. Anyone online, Shelley? Great. Then if you would, join me if we move to Item number F on our agenda, which are the consent items. Item number 1 is a request for approval of warrants 101, 123 through and including 102, 186, and 484, 626 through and including 484, 730, and 362 through and including 364 in the amount of $2,069,399.09. Item 2 is a request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $54,790 and 52. Item 3 is a summary of the warrants and purchase orders. We have Mr. Hatch. Go ahead, if you'll give us a summary of those things, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We issued 7 purchase orders this week for $55,000. Just under 2/3 of that amount, $34,000, is for the Golden Spike Event Center to purchase kitchen equipment. 21%, or $11,000, is for the transfer station to purchase fuel. As far as checks or payments, we issued 172 warrants this week for $2.1 million. 37% of that amount, or $776,000, is for the transfer station, and that was almost exclusively disposal fees. 24%, or $489,000, was chip and seal for 12th Street and 3500 West. And then 13%, or $259,000, went to the construction of the CJC building. And 6%, or $127,000, is for the library to purchase computers, to replace computers, to buy books and materials, and building maintenance and improvements.
Great. Commissioners, any questions for Mr. Hatch pertaining to the explanation? Hearing none, I'll continue with the summary, which is item 4, a request for approval of the minutes for the meeting held on June 4th, 2024. Item 5 is a request for approval of the new business licenses, and item 6 is a request for approval of change order number 01R1 associated with the Wadman Corporation contract for the construction of the Weber Morgan Children's Justice Center. We have Mr. Rod Layton here if you have any questions. Item 7 is a request for approval of an agreement by and between Weber County and Wasatch Widgeons to promote conservation efforts at Kingfisher Wetlands, which are located just to the west of the Fort Buenaventura in that wonderful improved area there. Item 8 is a request for approval of an agreement by and between Weber County and the Eden Valley Trail Trust for the trail maintenance and improvements within North Fork Park. Item 9 is a request for approval of an interlocal agreement by and between Weber County and Huntsville Town for a Utah Recreation Company to collect fees in the Cemetery Point on behalf of Weber County, who will pay Huntsville Town its portion of the fees. And Commissioner Furrow, you worked hard on that over the years, and that's working out well. Item 10 is a request for approval of a collection agreement by and between Weber County and Urban Park concessionaires DBA Vista to collect the fees for each vehicle that enters the Station Anderson Cove Boat Ramp, Cemetery Point, Middle Inlet, and Port Ramp Marina during the entire season at Pineview, while Pineview Reservoir is open. Just as a side note, those fees go from $3 to $4, I believe, on that.
That's correct.
All right, any questions relating to that?
I do have a comment on those,
Please, I'd
Mr.
love it.
Chair.
Yes.
So just regarding those fees collected for that we have an agreement with the Forest Service and their concessionaire, I just want to make a note that all those fees collected by Weber County go into a fund that goes back into those sites to deal with parking, garbage, and basically all the impact that residents in Ogden Valley have because of that traffic.
Yeah.
All those dollars go directly back to that venue.
All of them go
All of
back. Yeah, so none of them are held back, so that's an investment back into that area. That's a
Correct.
good point, thank you. Well, with that was a great comment. Would you like to make a motion?
I'd be happy to make a motion to approve consent items F1 through 10.
Great to have,
Second?
hearing a motion in a second, the chair will call for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries, thank you. We'll now move on to item number G, which is a public hearing. This is a request for a motion to adjourn our public meeting and convene a public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 2 on our agenda is a public hearing for Navy Metals Rezone and Development Agreement Application A. Request to rezone approximately 72.75 acres located approximately 3,300 south, 3,900 west from the A2 agriculture zone to the R115 zone. File ZMA 2023-15. Our presenter, Felix Yavarino.
Commissioner Harvey.
Yep.
Chair Harvey.
Yep.
There's an action that was added on an amended agenda.
I just grabbed what was in my file, Shelley. I missed it. Sorry. I saw you come in there, but I just picked the paper. Sorry? Trade you. Oh, no, I like mine. Okay, never mind. Okay. Sorry, commissioners.
The top of the page.
Got it? We're going to go to item G and change this. That's an action item, ratification of the 2024. Felix,
Yes.
give us just a minute. We're going to sit you down for a minute, okay? Andy, why don't you make your way up here? Well, Shelley, then, let me just do this one. Hold on, and then I'll give this back to you. Okay. All right. Andy McCray, item G, Commissioners, is G1. It's a ratification of the 2024 Weber County tax sale. Andy, sure glad you're there. You've done a wonderful job with this. Go ahead and make that presentation if you would, please, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Recently, we completed the 2024 property tax sale on May 23rd. This year, we started with a new record low of delinquent properties. We only had 67 delinquent properties on the list to start out with. Last year, we had 88, and then 78 the year before, and then over 100 years prior. We were happy to see a steady overall decline in delinquent properties that are coming up on the tax sale list at the beginning of each year. The tax sale auction is a result of 5 months of intensive efforts by more than just the clerk auditors. It's a combined effort between the recorders, surveyors, the attorneys, the treasurer's office. We each have all parts to play in this to help try and figure out the tax sale list. And we happen to have one of the smoothest sales we've ever had in history. I am also extremely grateful to Roger Brunker and Lynn Taylor. Neither of them were able to make it down here this morning, but both were immensely helpful in mentoring me through this process and establishing the tax sale that we could have it run smoothly. This year, there were only 5 properties up for auction. 3 were abutting properties, which were all bought by adjacent landowners. The remaining 2 non-abutting properties were successfully auctioned to the public with no properties being struck off to the county this year. After the auction, State Code allowed a 10-day period after the sale for anyone with concerns about the sale to submit those concerns to the Commission before the tax sale is ratified. The Commission would then have the opportunity to address those concerns before making a final decision. As of today, the clerk auditors are not aware of any objections being filed by the deadline of June 2nd for that. Unless you have any questions, Commissioners, we present the results of the tax sale for your ratification.
Commissioners, questions for Mr. McCray regarding the tax sale for this year? Questions or comments?
I don't have any.
None for me. I just say that we appreciate the hard work. That's, I know a lot of detail has to go into that presentation and make sure that we meet state code before those are finalized.
Yeah, this is like Thanksgiving dinner. There's all kinds of preparation, then it's over in 15, 20, 30 minutes.
You got to get it right.
Yeah. Okay, well, all right. Well, if with that, I'll entertain a motion from either of you regarding item G1.
Move to ratify the 2024 Weber County tax sale.
Second.
Motion and a second. I'll place that motion for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thanks, Ms. Halsey. Thank you. Okay, item number 2.
It's H1.
It'll be H1. Thank you. Thank you.
We are in public hearing, right?
You know, we went to the public hearing,
We
and
never
then we
left
did
it.
Annie McCray. So what do you want me to do, Chris?
We'll be able to sort it out in the minutes. I'd say you just continue.
Thank you. Just want to be, you know.
You're the
always-
best. Thank you.
Thank you. So item number H1 is a public hearing for Navy Meadows. Felix, you're back up again. Rezone and the development agreement, application A, request for rezone approximately 72.75 acres located approximately 3,300 south and 3,900 west from the A2 agricultural zone to the R115 residential zone, file number ZMA 2023-15. Mr. Yavarino, please go ahead.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
And that introduction pretty well covers what I plan to present today. This is a legislative matter that is before you. With it comes an ordinance which is that document that that kind of initiates the zoning map amendment, and also the development agreement, which we see with all of our rezones, and we're seeing quite a bit of those out here in Western Weber. So, just some details I have up here on a map. Just a few slides to share with you, just to get some familiarity with the county commissioners and also the audience here. To mention also, we do have the developer, Mr. Doug Hamblin, with us today in the audience. So this is a request to rezone this property here I have on the screen here. It's roughly 72.7 acres of land. Their proposal is to rezone it from what is currently A2 and rezone it over to the R115. You can see roughly where it is. That 3300 South is the majority of where this property fronts, and then the road going through the center of this development will be 3900 West. And let's see, going on to the next slide here if I can. There it is. So this is an image taken from the general plan. I just snipped out a little portion. The general plan, what it does is it's a really helpful guide in what we'd like to see development as far as preservation of open space areas, preservation and creation of pathways, greenways, and you can see there's a parkway that runs through that western edge of this property, as well as a pathway on the east side of this property highlighted in red, and that yellow area indicates area planned for medium to large lot residential, which is that R115 zone. And here is the development plan. So this is helpful to see what the developer has created in coordination with the planning staff as well as the planning commissioners. And what we've done is we've created this plan that shows roadway connectivity throughout, parkway and park spaces, parking for park visitors. These are both public parks. Those thick dashed lines indicate public pathways. Those are 10-foot wide pathways, and those pathways will be owned and operated and maintained by the Taylor West Weber Parks District, as well as the parkway and the park spaces. You can see the density, that detail on the bottom. It just lays out the way the density allowable from that R115 zone code. And I'll go to the next slide. In the development agreement with this Navy Meadows plan, we have requirements and standards that would kind of guide and shape this development in a way that the planning staff sees that there are some special conditions that would apply to this development. And so we put those into the development agreement. For instance, the street trees and the park strip. The park strips are going to be designed in a water conservation style, as well as the parks and open space, which is kind of unique to this development, is that the area dedicated to the Parks District, like I mentioned, the amenities within the parks will be installed by the developer, and things like restrooms and parking spaces and drinking fountains will be made available to those in that public park space. And then we have some information in the development agreement that's related to the patio homes, and so we've put a cap on how many patio homes that can be utilized here, which is the 23 patio homes, and that five of the townhouse units will be reserved for basically Weber Housing Authority will be taking part in making sure those are affordable housing. And also, meeting with the county commissioners last week, there was concern about those townhouses being all rented. And so what we did is we came to an agreement with the developer that they could rent out 4 of those townhomes, keep 4 of those under ownership, his ownership, for rentals, and a maximum of 47 townhomes within this development.
Well, they were to be used as a tool, isn't that right, Mr. Hamblin, for you to maybe sell on contract or something like that? So they'd still be like a homeowner occupied type of unit. Great, thank you.
And then, yeah, going on to what I covered just initially, so the decision on this is really just, is it compatible with the general plan? Is it compatible with existing ordinances? Is it compatible with best practices of Weber County and state law? And also, the approval would encompass this zoning map amendment with a development agreement and an ordinance. And those are included with the report. What I'll do is I'll go back to the concept. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Planning Commission. Tell them where they at, where are we with them on this?
Yeah, and so we had this before them on 2 separate occasions, and that the last time we took it before them was on May 14th. And this very plan that you have before you we got a positive recommendation from, a unanimous positive recommendation from the Planning Commission for this very plan.
Very good. Does that conclude your presentation, Mr. Yavarino?
It does, yes.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Bolos, Commissioner Faur, questions?
I do have one clarification.
Please, yes?
The 5 attainable units that will be facilitated through Weber Housing Authority are in addition to the 4 rentals, correct?
Yes,
And are they for purchase or rent?
those are for purchase.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Faur, in your portfolio, sir, go ahead.
So you had this question I was going to ask, which is Planning Commission, unanimous approval.
That's right.
We talked about the sewer in one of those work meetings. Where are we? Talk to me about the water and sewer approvals for this subdivision.
Yeah, so what
We have will serve letters and,
Yes, that's correct. We do have a will serve letter from Central Weber Sewer, and they do lay out the details and the requirements. Obviously, this property has been previously annexed into the district. They also offered comments regarding Central Weber Sewer providing sanitary sewer services, and what they've done is they've just added 6 comments that just to make the developer aware of the requirements they're going to have to follow.
okay. And is that part of the development agreement?
It's not part of the development agreement. It was included with the staff report, and so I think if there are standards that need to be added as far as Central Weber Sewer, we could definitely add those.
Well, I know we've had issues out there with sewer. We'll be discussing one of those at a work session the next couple of weeks. I just want to make sure that those suggestions or recommendations with Central Weber are included in some form that the developer is required to do.
Okay.
So I want to make sure that that sewer line has the capability to handle the additional existing residents that it may pass, according to state code.
Okay.
Okay, so, yeah, I think I brought that up in work session. I just want to make sure that is in the development agreement.
Okay. Yes, I can add a section in there specifically for that.
That concludes my questioning.
Why, thank you, Commissioner Faur. With that, with no other questions, we'll move on then. Item number 2. Thank you, Mr. Yavarino.
Thank you.
Item number 2 is a public hearing for Winston Park Rezone and Development Agreement, Application A. Request to rezone approximately 40 acres located approximately 3667 west and 1800 south from the A1 agricultural zone to the R115 residential zone, and to amend the Weber Western General Plan's future land use map to redesignate Parks and Recreation, the area, medium to large residential. Charlie Ewert, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Commissioners. I am going to share my screen here. There we go.
Could I trouble you to minimize on the Zoom, the number of people who are online so we can more fully see the presentation?
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Ewert.
So, as you've mentioned from the agenda, we've got a request to rezone property in the Winston Park subdivision. The Winston Park subdivision was a PRUD that was adopted and platted over the last few years. You could drive out there to 1800 South and see the lots that are going in there right now. As part of that PRUD, there was open space that was platted, and generally open space easement was dedicated to the county for that portion. When we did the general plan, we knew that that open space parcel was there, and so we made sure when we created the general plan map that we colored all the open space parcels as potential parks and recreation or open space areas on the general plan map. Knowing full well that developers may come in and ask to redevelop those spaces, especially the spaces that are not HOA owned, operated, and managed. So the parcel we're talking about here is privately owned. I know it was offered to the Park District initially, but the Park District didn't want it. This is years ago. Park District didn't want it because it didn't come with water, and so they were concerned about picking up a piece of property that didn't have water resources to take care of it. And now here we are with the developer saying, it'd probably be better off and better served to put some development on there because right now it's not serving anyone. It's low-lying property, has a little bit of salt playa on it, going to be hard to farm that area, and so there's not a lot of benefit to a private landowner to keep it as open space. So that was the developer's thought process when they came in and asked the question on whether or not they can plat over top of that open space area. When they asked the question to the Planning Commission, generally speaking, agreed that there's not a whole lot of opportunity for good quality public open space in this area. But the Planning Commission was also concerned about property that was previously platted as open space becoming homes, saying essentially it's kind of a double dip. Back in, at the time that this development was approved as a PRUD, it was under the A1 zone, so it was 40,000 square foot minimum lot sizes. The developer was allowed to cluster them into the corner and get some bonus density out of it in exchange for preserving the open space. And frankly, they entered the process of PRUD before we updated our cluster subdivision ordinance. So a lot of this probably sounds a little familiar. We've been talking about this on a couple of other parcels as well for other developers. So the Planning Commission said, if they're going to do something on this open space area, they got to do something pretty great to compensate for the loss of open space. So with that in mind, the developer did put together a plan. They volunteered to use our street connectivity incentivized subdivision tool that basically requires them to put together streets that interface with other properties as well as their phase one. They purchased back a lot, and I believe they got out of a contract for another lot to make sure that they can make street connections into their phase one. As you know, usually when we're talking about street connectivity, we're not happy or thrilled to see cul-de-sacs, but in some cases they had already sold properties and there were already homes being built on them. So there's still this cul-de-sac that remains out there, and you'll see in the concept plan another cul-de-sac. I'll explain why, from a planning perspective, we think that may be appropriate. As far as open space goes, the original plan for the project was, at the time, the Park District was asking for $2,000 per lot from other developers in the area. In fact, this 40-acre piece up here, that was platted with the expectation of $2,000 per lot. There's about 115 lots in there. And so the developer was willing to do that for the lots that they're platting in here. And after working with them a little bit, we said, you know what? If you're making smaller lots in here and you already have smaller lots over here, the whole property, the whole 40-acre property should probably go to the new R115 zone. Because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to have this property with small lots still remaining in the A1 zone and then have these properties over here in the R115 zone. So it just makes sense to take the whole thing in. And if we're going to go back to take the whole thing in, it might make sense to apply the $2,000 per lot to all of the lots that you're going to get out of the property. And that's how they were hoping to purchase their way out of the open space conservation easement by both not only giving the $2,000 per lot on the open space parcel here, but also $2,000 per lot on the existing lots that they have previously platted. So they were looking to go retroactive on that. In the meantime, we redid our calculations, found what it actually cost to create lots, to create parks in this area on a per lot basis, and that's where we came up with the $7,500 per lot calculation.
Point of correction.
Yes.
We didn't do that. The Park District came to us and did that.
That's correct. Western Weaver Park District actually came up with that number, and we were able to validate that through.
But that wasn't an action made by this legislative body. That was made by that legislative body.
Yep.
I just want to be clear in the minutes that that's the case.
Great, good clarification. So with that in mind, that number was never contemplated by this developer as they were putting the numbers together for this original area here. And so they're hoping, and the development agreement says, they're hoping for $5,000 a lot per new lot instead of the $7,500. And they're hoping that you guys would be okay with that. It still is, the total amount of $5,000 per new lot is still greater than $2,000 per lot from the original. And so it's still a higher amount than the Park District would have originally expected or anticipated. The Park District did want to see at the time $2,000 a lot, and again, the $7,500 donation came into play well after. It was a good half year greater after that discussion came in. So to me, from what's in your development agreement in your packet, that is one outstanding remaining question that you and the developer should probably address. If you're okay with the $5,000 a lot, then nothing needs to happen. The development agreement already accommodates for that. But if you'd rather discuss with the developer a higher amount, that's certainly something that would need to happen before the development agreement is adopted. So back to the general plan. So we've got 3 different actions that you need to take, similar to what Felix just presented, just one more action. He presented 2. You've got a general plan amendment resolution, you've got a rezone ordinance, and you've got a development agreement. Those are the 3 action items on the agenda today. Here's what the current general plan future land use map shows for this area, and it shows that open space. The idea at the time was put a really big park in here and maybe a greenway across the properties here and grab this parcel here. This greenway that comes across the front of these properties already goes through platted lots, and so the likelihood that we get actually a greenway there is probably pretty minimal. The developer did originally, when we were looking at this platting of this parcel here, they did say, you know, what if we just put a smaller park area right over in the corner right here, and maybe the Park District would be comfortable with it. The Park District did say, you know, it's smaller than we like to see. It was only a couple acres, but, you know, better than nothing. Since then, the staff and the applicant have been able to negotiate, instead of a park or a small park here that the district would have to take care of, because the district really doesn't want to see those smaller parks. We're looking at a new pedestrian right-of-way going through existing subdivided lots, and I'll show you the graphic of what that looks like. And that is the way that this developer is proposing to get people within their existing subdivision, as well as this proposed new subdivision, to the bigger park that's off to the west of the property here. So if the future land use map is changed, if you're comfortable with it, it'll change something like that. This color and this color is intended to match. I just wanted to outline it so you can kind of see how it's, see a little emphasis on that. And so if you do adopt the general plan change, all of this will essentially be this color here, which stands for medium large lot residential. Medium large lot residential, our general plan talks about it. That's the majority of the Western Weber area is designated for medium large lot, 15,000 square foot minimum lot sizes. There are provisions in the general plan that says that this should be averaged. Let me go to the next slide. Density averaging. You could take the total amount of square footage the developer has divided by 15,000 square feet and get to the number of units that they can build. How big the lot sizes are is up to the developer. Gives them the ability to have a variety of lot sizes. The smallest single-family lot size is intended to be 6,000 square feet. The Planning Commission noticed when the developer was proposing, let me go down here. Notice when the developer was proposing their subdivision layout, they were only asking for 33 lots where they could have asked for 50-something lots in this area, according to that density averaging. And so the Planning Commission said, you know, we need some variety of housing stock in the area for affordability purposes. What about a townhome or two, going out in the townhome building or two? When they came to this body, the County Commission work session, you guys mentioned, you know, townhomes are great and fine, but patio homes seem to be where it's at right now. We need the ability for people to be able to age in place and also be able to afford those places where they're aging in place. And so the developer has responded with taking that park area, turning those into proposed patio home area, keeping single-family dwellings. Previously, the townhomes were proposed in this corner, so keeping single-family dwellings along this parcel here, or these parcels here. And you can see here, this is where the cul-de-sac comes in. Originally, we asked them to make a connection over here, but the proximity of 3500 West, which is right over in this location, would make for some really challenging geometry to make that road go through. So instead, we asked them for a pathway to cut through at the end of that, and then we asked for this road stub to come in through to the neighboring properties over there. So with that in mind, this is the current zone map. R115 is the zone that they would like. It's the zone that this property and these properties over here are zoned. It's also the zone that properties in this area are seeking right now. And so it won't be out of favor with the type of zoning that we've been doing in the area. As you can see right now, it's the A1 zone. They just want to zone it to the R115 zone, so the map will look something like that. We have notified everybody who owns property within the development here that their parcels could potentially be rezoned, and let them know that the new zone reflects what their property sizes already are, and so they won't be non-conforming or anything like that. And the applicant wrote into their CC&Rs with so the contract with all of these owners that if the county ever allows them to develop this area, they won't protest. And so the applicant was thinking about this, forward thinking about this when they platted the subdivision originally. So here's the concept plan. As mentioned, the concept plan is just a little bit different in configuration than what the Planning Commission saw, and that's because originally the Planning Commission saw townhomes up in this area here, but after discussing with you guys and you guys wanting to see patio homes, they thought the patio homes would fit better over here. Also, after having more discussions with the Park District and with ourselves when it comes to how big of park area the Park District wants, it seemed more appropriate for this to not be a park and instead them provide a really good trail connection to the west to the park area. Despite what some developers will tell you, most of them will tell you that we're really easy to work with. This has been in the process for a while, as has the one that Felix was just working on. We want all developers to tell you that we're good to work with, we're happy, we're friendly, but we're also challenging to get through because these are new zones. This is brand new entitlements going to developers, and so developers should, in exchange, offer the community something that is great. Here are the amenities that are being offered by the developer to the community. So they are offering patio homes where they weren't originally asking for anything like that. Patio homes provide a level of affordability, housing diversity, and putting patio homes in this development helps distribute that housing type amongst higher market value homes, and so you don't get just patio homes or affordable homes packed into one large community that could lead to problems in the future. Patio home standards, they have volunteered for some standards. They will face away from 1800 South. The rear of those buildings that are next to 1800 South will appear as if they are single-family buildings, not duplexes or anything like that. And then the remaining of them will have wall and roofline shifts so that you don't see the redundant, flat roofs, bunker-style duplex. You see a good diversity of design quality in those buildings. The applicant has proposed a block wall along 1800 South. That block wall looks like about like this. Now, in your commercial design review, the codes currently say, we're not really big fans of concrete masonry units, even split-face concrete masonry units. I think one of the primary reasons why we say we're not very comfortable with that in our commercial design standards is because usually we just get a flat wall of this. The developer has volunteered to put columns and posts to break that flat wall up, to put a cap across the top of it. And if you like this design, if you're comfortable with this, this is what the developer has proposed. We did talk to the applicant, the developer, about different fence styles along 1800, and the reason why this is important is because our general plan says that there needs to be aesthetic design amenities along these street corridors where all the homes are facing away from the street corridor. So 1800 South is one of those. And if we've got a hodgepodge of fence types backing out onto 1800 South, that could take away from the attractiveness of the community. With this developer being the first one to put a fence out there, this might set the standard for other developers as well, if you're comfortable with that style. Trail connectivity through phase 1. In fact, a lot of different connectivity. So you could see here the existing streets as well as the new ones that they are proposing. And then those red lines are trail connections. So the intention is to provide frequent intervals where pedestrians can get from where they live to other streets or other trail types without having to go around huge, massive housing blocks. This one right over here on the west side, that's the one that we're working with the developer to buy back from existing property owners. Those lot owners own these two properties right here, Castle Creek Homes, and the developer is currently in negotiation with them to purchase back a 12-foot wide right-of-way through there to put a 10-foot wide asphalt pathway on.
What's the name of that street across there, Charlie? Something Grove Road?
Shalgrove,
Shalgrove Road?
Chalgrove, Shalgrove, yep. A couple other amenities, so street connections, street trees and park strip landscaping, upgraded energy efficient appliances, smart thermostats, smart irrigation controls, dark sky friendly outdoor lighting, and parks donation, and bright red so that you guys can talk about that further with us or with the developer. So possible action today. So again, you got 3 different items to consider. Number 1, you can approve the general plan amendment, rezone development agreement. You could do that as is, as staff has presented to you, or you could do it with changes. The big question for us is what are you going to do with that park donation? Or you can table the item pending further discussion with staff or the applicant, or you could deny the item outright. Any of those 3 options are at your use today.
Great.
Any
Thank you,
questions
Mr.
for me?
Ear. Questions, commissioners? Mr. Hamblin, I'm sorry I didn't give you an opportunity to talk during the presentation. Do you feel like you were represented fairly? Yes. Thank you. We have also Mr. Wade Rumsey, who's another developer for this Winston Park in the audience. Mr. Rumsey, would you have any comments at this time? Thank you. Mr. Ebert, thank you. Commissioner Froy, in your portfolio, questions or comments, or do you want to save those for the action?
No, I think I need to make sure that we understand it so it becomes part of the public record. So
Thank you.
I think, Charlie, you will know my opinion about bonus density, and now that there's open space and now we pay double, or that they get a double bonus, I should say, for developing on open space. Explain to me again what the benefit to the public is, and go I want to understand exactly what the Park District expects and will get out of this. We talked about the 22,000, we talked about the 5,000, we talked about the number of lots. Give me the bottom line numbers and where those funds will go. Where's the park that this would be slated to go?
So one thing the development agreement says, and it's actually says it multiple times to make sure we stay out of hot water, legal water in the future, that number one, the donation is a donation, and once it's offered to the Park District, the developer has no claim to that donation after that. So the Park District would have free use of that. They could put it into the park that's right to the west of this property here, or they could put it as a contribution to other parks in the area. So there's no specific location for it designated right now. The Park District originally, when we were looking at this, said $2,000 a lot for all of the lots in Phase 1 the existing Phase 1 and the new Phase 2, or $5,000 per lot for each new lot in Phase 2. The reason why they said $5,000 per lot for each new lot is because that is more than double what they were expecting of $2,000 per lot. The monkey wrench is now we're looking at $7,500, and so the applicant is still asking that it's only $5,000 per each new lot in the development as originally agreed to by the Park District and the applicant.
Okay, so how's that going to be addressed in the development agreement?
So right now in the development agreement, it's written as $5,000 per each new lot or unit. Now, they're not obligated to build all of the lots that are on the concept plan or all the lots that they're entitled to, but if they do build all of them, then that's quite a contribution to the Park District. We're talking about probably $400,000 or so to the Park District for this project. If they don't develop all of them, maybe they don't do all of the patio homes, then it'll be, it'll come down from there, $5,000 per front door.
Got it. Okay, that's all my questions for now, Mr. Chair.
Thank you so much. Well then, Commissioners, I've got a question for both of you. Would one of you like to request a motion to adjourn the public hearing and reconvene a public meeting?
Can I ask a few questions?
I'd love to. I'm sorry, I thought I went to you. Thank you so much.
Usually
Commissioner Bolos.
go to him because it's in his portfolio.
Oh, I thought I went to you first. I'm sorry. Error on my part. Commissioner Bolos, please, for
Okay,
Mr.
Charlie, I
Ewert.
have a few questions. I want to know when this subdivision was first approved with the open space.
The year I have that, it is in the development agreement. I believe it was in 2021 or 2022.
And at that time, was all the density that was allowed, including in the open space, all clustered into the,
Yes,
Okay.
their density was exhausted at that time.
okay. So okay, that's that one. Okay, the only other thing that I have, and this is not really a question, this is just a statement. You
Please.
talked about street connectivity and trail connectivity. In my opinion, those aren't trade-offs that are benefit to the community. Those should be expected in any development. I don't think it's a bonus for us to have one street connect to another.
Yeah.
I think that should be a given, so
I
I
like
appreciate
that.
you bringing that up, but to me, that's not an added benefit, that's an expected benefit.
I
for the
actually really
public.
appreciate that and think it's something that we should put in our code. Currently, our code doesn't have that explicit of direction to make those street connections, and so that's why we're considering it voluntary, because the default wouldn't require it.
Right. That's all I have. I might have more.
Thank you, Commissioner. I feel exactly the same way with regards to that expected, not, yeah, so that's great.
Did we have anyone online that wanted to talk since it's a public hearing?
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Thanks for that reminder. You're helping me be a better man here.
You've got a lot going on here. Sean.
Thank you. Shelley, do you have anyone online that would like to speak to this? Great, okay. Yeah, I'm glad, thank you so much. Then I will, with no more questions, again, one more time here.
I'm good.
I'm going to save my comments until we get into the public hearing, so I'll request a motion to adjourn the public hearing and reconvene a public meeting.
So moved?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to do that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're now in a public meeting. Now, this is, item 4 is to take action on the public hearing. Item number H2A is a request for approval of a development agreement, by agreement for Navy Meadows Development. This is the Navy Meadows. So that's this, the first one would be, the development agreement is first, and then G2 would be the rezone ordinance. And so this is Navy Meadows, or the first one. So do we have a comment or a question regarding the development agreement for Navy Meadows? Hearing none?
The only question, I guess, I want to make sure that we get in the comments regarding the sewer.
Yes, yes, we can definitely add that
So-
line in and those conditions from that sewer letter.
Okay.
I want to make sure that's included. Then if with that, would you like to include that in the motion?
I would. So I would move, if you're ready, Mr. Chair.
I am.
I would move to approve the development agreement by and between Navy Meadows as presented to us this afternoon under H2 with the changes and recommendations for the sewer that would be installed to provide sewer to that development.
Great. Motion?
Second.
Second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, great, thank you. Item number 2, then, or B, would be the request for approval of the rezone ordinance, 2024-15 for Navy Meadows Development. I'll entertain a motion for that one.
Move to approve ordinance 2024-15.
I'll second.
Great, we have a motion and a second. I'll place that motion for vote with Mr. Brandt. Go ahead.
Roll call vote for ordinance 2024-15. Commissioner Faur?
Aye.
Commissioner Bolos?
Aye.
Chair Harvey?
Aye, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Okay, Commissioners, now, got that item out of the way, we'll move now to the Winston Park, G3A, or excuse me, H3A, a request for approval of a general plan amendment, Resolution 32-2023, related to the Winston Park development. Comments or questions or motions on this? Got no comments, no questions. I am going to, we have 3 options on this. We can either approve it, we can hold it, or we can deny it. And so those are the 3 things we have. Related to this, since I've asked the question, I'm going to make a statement myself as the chair. Mr. Rumsey, thank you so much. You, no secret, we met individually, you and I. I want you to know that I kept my end of the agreement, and I did my homework on this. A lot of things came to light since then. So let me tell you furthermore on what my research found in agreement. I want you to know that, as previously mentioned by Commissioner Bolos, it should be an expectation, not a gift. And so, Charlie, as you move towards that, any movement towards that would be appreciated, at least from 2 of us, probably maybe 3. So, as it relates to this, as for the Phase 2 portion of this, the pathway and the going through what appears to be Lot 206 and 207 on that Phase 1, I think that's a good idea with regards to the how close it is to 3500 West. That's a good idea. However, and while I like people giving opportunities for families in Weber County, and I appreciate the interest, I would like, if we do some patio homes there and we reduce that density further, I want some entitlements on those, just the patio homes, to be owner occupied, not on the bigger 3rd acre. We've had discussion about this in work sessions. So when we start going into smaller things other than 3rd acres, some entitlements that say homeowner occupied for a period of a number of years. I don't want to go crazy, but 50 sounds good. I might settle on 30. Since we're not getting any kind of motion here, that's kind of something there that I want to be on top of. I also, on that Shell Grove Road, the reason I asked that question, I know that you, Mr. Rumsey, had to buy back, or were looking to buy back that pathway between those lots. That's, to me, not good enough. I'd like that street connectivity, even if it's into some future development. What we learned from the Park District and from the planners, we had 4 or 5 of the Planning Commission in a work session yesterday. That's going to be another development. That road should connect. It would be irresponsible for us to approve a subdivision, even consider a subdivision in this area, especially since they've already done one without that road connectivity. So on that map, Charlie, lot number, he's showing lot, I don't want to specify a lot. Shows 108 here, but however he lays that out, I'd like that road, Shallgrove, to go through into the next subdivision eventually.
The street?
The street.
Okay.
Street, thank you. Road, street, 220, 221. Anyway.
Okay.
That would be important to me. With regard, since this is a new application, I think it's important for the county to keep its obligation with regards to the $2,000 a lot for the old piece, but for the new piece, what we agreed on, since it's been, even though we've moved the mark, it's just, that's what it is, especially on this bonus piece of it, to the 7,500. So that's where I am on it. Any questions? If not, then I'll entertain a motion to hold or deny unless we get a motion to accept some of those things I put in there.
Mr. Chair, I would move to table that resolution 32-2024 for Winston Park.
We have a motion to table 32-2024.
I'll second that if I can make a comment.
Second with the comments appropriate. Thank you.
This is why I'm in favor of tabling it, because the density was exhausted in the first approval. So I really struggle with that open space not existing. I understand that the Park District doesn't want that. That makes total sense to me. But in exchange for that now, there needs to be a major public benefit, because we're essentially we're doubling the density that's allowed.
Yep.
And so if we're
What
going to do
was
that.
allowed from 20
What was allowed from when it was first approved. And if we're going to do that, which I'm not completely against, because this can't be a park, and the Park District doesn't want it. So I'm not completely against that, but if we're going to allow double the density, there has to be a major public benefit. And I was thinking along the lines of $7,500 for that donation. But I'm not even sure that that's enough. I might want to see what else can be offered.
Great. Okay, so I appreciate the comment. The motion is to table, and so we have a motion and a second to table. I'll place that motion for vote. We need that to be a roll call also because it was originally a resolution.
The action until further another agenda.
Okay, Mr. Brandt, I'll take that then. The motion to table, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. So do we need to do that item G or H3B, the development agreement?
No, because you've tabled it.
Okay, so that will be stricken.
I think both those then would be
Both of them?
tabled.
The next two, so items B and C listed on the agenda will both be tabled because the first item, G3A, was tabled. Little nod, a little live, yeah, that'd be great. Okay, Commissioners, with that, I'll move on to
Mr.
item.
Chair, I would like to make a comment.
I'd love
about
that.
those. So I agree 100% with Commissioner Bolos, and I think I've made that clear in work sessions. We are increasing density that was at one time really understood by the public would be open space. Now, I'm not opposed to, we need housing, we need density, but we need to make sure that the public does receive a benefit that's commensurate with that density. And I think we can get there. I'm not convinced, and that's a reason for my motion to table, that this plan gets us to the comfort level that I need to see, that I can talk to members of the public and explain to them, here was the benefit for doing this. Just to increase density, and I agree 100% with the roads, connectivity should be number one. If you've ever driven through parts of Davis County where there's a road to nowhere and you end up circling, I don't want to see that in Weber County. So when people expect transportation, roads are very, just like infrastructure, are very important to the development of Western Weber County. I want to make sure we're doing this right.
I'd agree. Yeah, that's good. Those are all good comments. Thank you very much. And I think those are good. I don't know how they're received, but I think, Charlie, that also helps you, staff, with recommendation. These are look, I think we've landed in a good place here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And so, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. So we had a motion. No, we didn't have a motion. We just had the comments. Well, that is, speaking of that, I'm going to move to item I Like India. Commissioner comments. Any other comments?
None for me.
Wallace?
None for me, thank you.
Commissioner Ford, then how about item number J, Juliet?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Failed to mention.